Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 27 Beta 1 has been out for about a week at this point, and there's many more features to talk about. So I thought we'd go over about 30 more features that are in the first update. Now the first thing has to do with power. If you power off your phone, there's a new look to it. So it looks completely different, has liquid glass, and is just a little bit nicer. If you're someone that uses low power mode, you'll be happy to hear that it's much faster this time around when it's enabled. Typically it slows down the processor, turns off things such as 120 Hz ProMotion, but it's definitely more usable than it was with iOS 26. Now if we shut down the phone this time, when we press the power sleep wake button to boot the phone up, keep holding while it's booting up, and it says continue holding for recovery. This is very similar to what you get on a Mac, so we'll continue to hold, and it says loading recovery options. So again, give it a few moments here, and you'll see it says recover your iPhone. We have the recovery assistant, a software update, diagnostic mode, erase all content in settings, and then restore your iPhone using a computer. So you have all of these built in without having to connect to a Mac. We'll go ahead and power this off and restart, and then boot right back up to where we were. Within the control center, we have some changes. So if we press and hold to adjust the controls, we can now switch the focus mode down to a single icon size. However, we cannot expand it usually. Sometimes this is a bug, sometimes it works, and I've had issues where I had to reboot to get this to work again. So it seems to be a little buggy, but it is a new option. You can also resize the actual connectivity window. So if you want to bring this one a little bit bigger, you can. You can shrink it down to whatever you'd like. You'll see that you can change the actual full connectivity window. Again, keep in mind this isn't a beta and it's a little bit buggy at this point. Also, if you're using the remote, maybe for your TV here, if we go into the remote, you can now use this in landscape. So they've made a lot of these different apps throughout the OS available in landscape mode as well. So you can use that in landscape or in portrait, whatever works best for you. If we go into settings, then we go down to general, and then date and time, we have an update here. We now have additional options. So with iOS 26 and earlier, it just basically said 24-hour time or set automatically, and now it shows the time zone and time zone city. If we turn these off, you'll see we have additional options here. So we could set the time as well as choose the city that gives it the time zone. On the home screen, if we press and hold, and then maybe we arrange something, maybe we'll move this icon down here, maybe this folder over here, and rearrange it a little bit. We can now undo this simply by shaking. Shake the phone, and it says undo move app. So we tap undo, we can do that again, undo or redo, and then undo, and then move it back. So hopefully we get an undo all and then redo all so we could see before and after, but I think this is a good step. Now within settings down at apps, if we go into our default apps, we have a new option at the bottom for media sharing extension. So currently it says AirPlay, but in the future if we have something else such as Chromecast, we should see this here and then be able to select it as the default media sharing option. If you're using the tap to pay option to another iPhone with a local business, there's now a new option so you could share your email address or maybe home address to maybe join an emailing list or something else related to where you're purchasing your items. Within the Wallet app, there's an update if you're using your driver's license or ID card here. Now, it's not available in the state where I live, but if you do have one set up, you can now change how your ID is presented in the Wallet app while using your ID. Within Photos, if maybe we're within a video, scrubbing through it, we can actually tap the three-dot menu in the upper right now and save the video frame as a photo. So if we tap on this, we can then save that as a photo, and it says Saved Video Frame. Within our Photos settings, if we scroll down, we have additional options here. So View Options have a new one to view full HDR, where it says automatically adjust the display to show the complete dynamic range of photos. Also, we have new syncing options within the album, so if you want to sync right away, you can do that, where it says sync immediately or for today. So it says iCloud Photos will prioritize syncing as soon as new items enter your photo library. Sync immediately may affect battery and cellular usage and will pause if low power mode or low data mode are enabled. If we go into shortcuts, there's some new actions here. So if you're creating your own action instead of using Siri to do that, tap this icon here and you can switch back to the traditional interface. There's a couple new actions Apple has added. There's some for multitasking. You can see here we have Get Multitasking Mode and Set Multitasking Mode. Also, there's a new option for storage. So under Actions, we have storage options now. So Get Stored Content, Delete Stored Content, or Store Content. We also have a new option when we're creating an automation. So you'll see there's a new option for automation for when I receive a notification from. So maybe from someone else, from news or a different app, you can then prompt a different automation. Also, when creating an automation, you can add multiple automation triggers. So you can add this one, then an additional one after this. So again, we can search maybe an action or add an automation directly after this. So again, select automation, time of day, and now we have multiples after one another. When we use Hold Assist, it can now predict the amount of time you may be on hold for. So depending on the phone call and how long you're on hold, you might see that time here at the top. Within our voicemail, if maybe you just received a call, you'll have a little dialogue to make it more easy to call the person back. So instead of hitting the little icon in the upper right, it now says call and it's in the middle. Also, if you call someone on their birthday, it will show you a little celebration in the call window. So just like it has when you go into messages and text someone on their birthday, you'll see it in your phone call. Now, if we go over to the Siri app, and maybe you've been using Siri while you're using Apple CarPlay, you'll now see an icon for that. So let's switch to maybe a list style here. We'll scroll down. You'll see a little CarPlay icon letting you know where you started those conversations. Within settings, this time if we go down to privacy and security, scroll down a little ways, you'll see a new option or a new menu for impersonation risk detection. It says allow apps to request Apple's impersonation risk detection signals to help detect if your device or account shows signs of an active scam. If we go into this, currently we only have one option to share with app developers, and it says for your protection, disabling this feature may take up to 24 hours to take effect. So that's something new to help with privacy and security. Within reminders, we can now use Siri to describe a reminder. So if maybe we want something like this, I need a reminder later today to take some eye drops and maybe go to the store to pick up some groceries. We'll give it a moment.
I've added 2 reminders for today. Take some eye drops and go to the store to pick up some groceries.
And you can see those here. So if we go back, you'll see them at the top here where it says take some eye drops and go to the store to pick up some reminders. So you can just describe what you want and it will add it within reminders. Also within a grocery list, you can more accurately categorize that list. So whatever you'd like, maybe we need to pick up some lettuce. You'll see here, if we go to the eye, again, we have date and time, list, tags, subtasks, and much more. So you can even add an image for what you're wanting to pick up. And you'll see it said added to produce. It did it on its own. Within messages, there's a couple updates. Again, if you're using Siri and have the new Siri installed, you'll see here that you now have the option to add to calendar, as we were talking back and forth, me and Steve, about possibly going to lunch, and it recognized that, and now we have an add to calendar button. Tap on it, and then you can gather details from that message, and it says lunch at Mexican, approximate time, and then adds it automatically. So this is really nice, just a little bit faster and more intuitive to do different things throughout the OS. When someone sends you an audio message, there's now a playback button for the speed right here. Instead of pressing and holding, you can then play it back faster just by tapping on it, picking from 1 to 2x. If we go into Maps, Maps now has a new liquid glass interface. So most of the menus are liquid glass, depending on if you're searching or doing something else. Now, I don't have this one set, but if you're using a multilingual keyboard, when you start typing, it will choose the correct quotations based on the language you're typing in. I saw this on Reddit, and someone was actually typing in English, then switched languages, and then it corrected the quotations on its own, understanding that it was from a different style language. So that's something that they've added. Also to do with the keyboard, if we go into Notes, you'll see that we have something here to paste. It says paste from Notes. Instead of pressing and holding on the display to paste, we can just tap this icon since we've already copied it, making it much easier to paste. Also, something else that's been enhanced with the keyboard is dictation. It's greatly improved. So this is iOS 27 Beta 1 on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and dictation seems to be much more accurate, whether it has to do with pronunciation or different question marks or things like that. It seems to get all of the different information correct, and it's just much easier, and I don't have to correct it over and over. So it seems like it's been resolved compared to previous updates with iOS 26. And so you'll see that it filled that in pretty simply, and it works like you would expect instead of having to constantly correct it. If we go into the Home app, there's an update here. If we switch over maybe to my office, you'll see that it says cameras. These can now stream in 4K, but also the timeline is different. If you have multiple cameras at the same location, it will recognize those and give you those in a multiple timeline together so you can see the cameras together at the same time. Also within Home settings, some are actually seeing an Apple Intelligence or Siri icon that's present. I'm not seeing that currently, but that may be because of the different items that I'm using within Home. Now this time, if we go into maybe accessibility settings, we'll go up to accessibility, and then this time we'll go to touch and then back tap. So we'll go down here, go to back tap. There's a new option to use alternate model. So if you want to go into use alternate model, it may understand it differently. Apple hasn't explained this, but we do have this option here. If we go into email, if maybe you've got a ton of email, you've just set up an account, it will now give you a notification or a little banner telling you that it's still indexing. Also, search has been greatly improved. If we go to the lock screen and we press and hold to customize the wallpaper, under customization, if we tap on this big clock here and we tap this icon, it then disappears into the top bar if you don't want to have the clock there at all, or you can just simply bring it back. When we open up Safari, if we don't have anything loaded, you'll see that we have our favorites, our bookmarks, we also have our reading list, as well as history. So it's a faster way to access that instead of going into menus at the bottom. Now on this website, if we go to the options here for Apple and we scroll down, you'll see that we have a new option to describe an extension. So it says boost productivity, improve focus, get creative, develop and design. So it says express yourself with playful twists and creative touches, or you can streamline the way you read, research, and reference. Now, I don't use any extensions, but you can simply create them just like you would with shortcuts now, using Siri throughout. Also, if we press and hold on this image here, you'll see that we have a new option for download linked file, just like we do on the Mac. Now, if we go back out and go into the calendar, and then we go to add maybe a new entry, the entry page has been updated. So a lot of people seem to like this, where it's a little more clear, a little bit separated, and you can see the different options here with a separate option for a reminder at the top. In addition to this, there's now 3 alert options. So maybe at the time of an event, you can then maybe add another one and then add a 3rd one as you're adding alerts, or maybe even a 4th one. And it seems like it keeps going. So you have many different options here if you want to be reminded as well. Now, if you're fixing passwords within the Passwords app, you can show details. And also some have said they're seeing the results pop up in the dynamic island. So if that shows during this video, of course, I'll share it with you. If we go into fitness, this has been rearranged and has a new design. You can see it shows the activity rings, and of course I can customize this a bit, but as we scroll down, you'll see different trends and things like that compared to iOS 26.5 on the left or iOS 26 in general. So it looks a little bit different, and of course we can edit everything, make it look a little different, and then customize it however we'd like. In addition to this, you can now use workouts in landscape. So again, just like we're seeing throughout the OS, this is an update as well. Now, if we go into Freeform, there's an update here. It's a pretty simple update, but it now allows for dark mode, and then you can organize your boards into folders and invite others to collaborate. So if we go into this, you'll see it's in dark mode now. With the iPad, there's a couple things worth mentioning. One of them is a new sound when you connect your Apple Pencil. So it has a little bit of a different sound there. Let's try it one more time. And also, when you're using this with Sidecar, there's now multiple scaling options. So that's been updated, and it's super nice. Now, one thing hopefully they'll bring to iPhone is that undo and redo option. You'll see it here. If maybe we get rid of this widget, we remove it, we now have an undo button here. Hopefully they bring these buttons directly to the iPhone later on. So that's quite a few more features in iOS 27 that we didn't find initially. Of course, I'm sure we'll discover more and more as we continue to use this. Let me know your favorite features of iOS 27 in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.